GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's as thrilling as finding out your leftovers didn't expire yet. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton. Happy New Year, everybody. Today is part two of a two-part series with Dan Romero. Now, why do you want to listen to Dan Romero? First of all, he's employee number 20 from Coinbase. Second of all, he first bought Bitcoin in 2014 for $97. And now he is the co-founder of Farcaster, which is one of the leading decentralized social networks. Now, if you don't know Farcaster or you don't use Farcaster, here's why you're going to want to listen to this episode. First, we're going to talk about how Farcaster has become the frontier or the leading edge of crypto. It's one of the best places to get alpha. AI agents and how everyone's talking about AI agents now. Well, if you were on Farcaster in September of last year, you already knew about AI agents because they've been talking about for a while. We're also going to talk about specifically what's happening on Farcaster with AI agents. It is so cool what is going on over there, the experimentation and the way that they are using AI agents and tokens. I won't even get into it. We're going to talk about the opportunities that exist on Farcaster to capitalize, to make money, not just as an investor. Dan really breaks down some incredible ways that you can use Farcaster to make profits and to make money. And then we're going to talk about the relationship between Base and Farcaster and so much more. We talk about Elon, we talk about Twitter, we talk about so much in this episode. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Before we jump in, it's 2025, everybody. And you know what? In 2025, I want to have bigger and better guests on this show for you so that we can give you guys the edge. We can give you the alpha you need. And you know how you can help with that? Hit the like button, smash subscribe, follow us on whatever channel you're listening on. It would be a huge help to us, and it will only help us get better people on the show and grow our show so that it can help you more. Before we jump in to hear from Dan, we need to take a minute to hear from our sponsor who make this show possible. Meet Odos, the DeFi aggregator that makes your token swap smarter, faster, and a whole lot easier. Tired of trading like it's 2019? Odos finds the best prices for your swaps across 900 liquidity sources and 14 blockchains, so you always get more bang for your crypto buck. Whether you're swapping, setting a limit order, or just avoiding gas fees like the plague, Odos has you covered. It's like having a genius trader in your pocket, minus the coffee addiction. Join 3 million wallets already using Odos to power over 6 billion in monthly trades. Start making smarter swaps today at milkroad.com/Odos. You could have done a lot of things when you were, you could have stayed at Coinbase, an obvious rocket ship that you were on. But then you decided to leave Coinbase. You, I'm sure, did fairly well there, and you were pretty set up, could have done a lot of things. Why decentralized social?
Yeah, so it's 2020. I think the thing I'd been thinking about for a long time, even pre-Coinbase, but very much influenced by like working at Coinbase, seeing the kind of growth of Bitcoin, emergence of Ethereum, this idea of like protocols, is it seemed wild that the increased prominence of Twitter in terms of like the discourse to how our country and frankly the whole world works, to have it be controlled by a small group of people in San Francisco who may or may not have the same politics as you, or may or may not have your country's, if you're a different country than the US, interests in mind, kind of seems wild relative to the rest of the internet, which, like, yes, the US kind of has like a founding role, and the Commerce Department technically controls a bunch of stuff in DNS, but overall the internet feels pretty sovereign, much more so than centralized social media. And so I thought it was like kind of like, okay, if I believe, one of the things I believe is like crypto is going to slowly just like eat everything in software. Everything will kind of merge with crypto. I think AI is probably similar with that at this point, but crypto is like water. It's just going to seep itself into everything. Then it's clear to me that like on a 10-year horizon from 2020 to 2030, decentralized social networks are going to be a thing. Like, it just, if you believe that thesis. And so some of those, you could argue on those two premises alone, and maybe you disagree, but those are the two things that went in. And so from that standpoint, I think I was pretty bullish, and so was my co-founder Varun, on this idea that like starting work on a decentralized social network protocol also betting on the improvements in the underlying infrastructure for crypto over a long period of time was a good bet. And so I think that 4 years in has definitely been proven true. I think what's been different is I didn't expect Elon to go and buy Twitter. So I think that there was a bit of a bet on you're competing against a stagnant Twitter versus now Twitter is maybe a bit more chaotic. So there's like progress happening, but like there are a lot of people who are upset about it. So it's been a big variable change for us. And so I think if you take the macro, like we are moving to decentralized protocol-based social in the sense that Threads, which is the Facebook kind of competitor to Twitter, is loosely integrated with what they call the Fediverse, which is decentralized. It's like Mastodon. And that's 275 million people use it every month. And then Blue Sky, obviously, I think is a more concentrated new bet in terms of a protocol, and they've done quite well.
Are people using Blue Sky?
Pardon?
Are people using Blue Sky?
Yeah. I mean, there's like 25 million users on their protocol. I think what's interesting though is like Threads and Blue Sky have really benefited from the anti-Elon like Twitter. And so one thing for crypto people is like for the most part they haven't left because they're just like, okay, X works for me, and that's where the crypto audience is. And yeah, the algo
and
might
Elon
have
likes crypto, so I'm gonna hang out.
Overall, people they're seeing the crypto content that they want, and then they're fine. And so that group actually has not moved. And so I think a lot about this for Farcaster because like we really haven't benefited much from the anti-Elon because crypto people actually are just not in that is not a driver for them. And so I think where it's taken us with Farcaster and the thing that still very much interested in building, going back to why I decided to work on it in 2020, is we fundamentally believe like protocol-based social networks like that is going to continue to be a trend and grow. And then I think our adjustment to that is like we're building in crypto, so the opportunity for Farcaster is to be the best crypto social network, right? And there is a little bit of precedence for this in that I'm dating myself, but when I first started at Coinbase, there was no crypto Twitter. It was crypto Reddit, right? And it's like Bitcoin Talk was a forum. There's our Bitcoin, our Ethereum. And so basically, if you had a cryptocurrency, you had a subreddit. And over the last 10 years, it's very much migrated to a combination of Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. And our belief is none of those are protocols, by the way. Telegram probably is like the closest to it, but it's still run by one company. And so I think like if you fast forward over the next 5 to 10 years, I genuinely believe crypto social networks will be built on crypto rails, will be tightly coupled. And you're already starting to see some of this with Telegram with like their wallet, their mini app ecosystem ton. But I think it's just like obvious that like crypto will have its own set of like kind of social experiences that are much more tightly coupled. And I think you might get a little bit of it from the big incumbents, but they change their priorities so often. So it's like Facebook was interested in doing this. They didn't ship it. They did some NFT stuff with Instagram. They've removed that. Twitter had the, make your PFP an NFT during 2021. They've since removed it. So the idea that like kind of like it can come and go as a fad versus like a new foundation for these new types of experiences, that's basically what we're building with Farcaster.
Yeah, there certainly feels like an inevitability to decentralized social for so many reasons. Let's fast forward to today. So today, what Farcaster or Warpcast has become is sort of like the frontier of crypto. It's like really like if you want the alpha, that's a great place to go because like the best example for me is AI. All of a sudden, and I don't mean AI broadly, I mean AI crypto and AI agents. If you were on Farcaster months ago, you were already well aware of AI and AI agents and that narrative. Whereas if you're on crypto Twitter, you might not have been aware of it, and you might have only caught up to it in the last few weeks when all of a sudden everyone else caught up to it. What has made Farcaster sort of like, and is that the way you see it as, how do you see it, I guess would be a good question when you compare it to Twitter or to Threads? Is that the focus right now to be that edge? And is that what it's becoming?
Yeah. So we've been pretty explicit in our like go-to-market over the last 4 years is like, we've grown slower, but been really deliberate in going after developers. And so I think one criticism early on with Farcaster was like, oh, it's too techy, it's too developer centric, like this isn't the same as crypto Twitter. But that's starting to pay off for us where one, there are plenty of other non-developers on the platform, like, kind of on the social network today. So like you get a much more varied mix of content. But because you have such a core of developers, they're the ones who can actually like tinker and build these new experiences. And because Farcaster, one way to think about Twitter is like when Twitter was early on, Twitter had really open APIs. So like people did a bunch of experimentation and cool stuff on top of Twitter. For the last 10 years, it's gotten more and more closed. And Elon basically is like totally locked it down. Yeah, there are some instances where you can go do this stuff. And a lot of the AI agents on Twitter actually, they don't even use the official like paid API because that's basically the only way you can get on Twitter. They like reverse engineer it. So they're kind of like a little bit of a house of cards. Like should Elon wake up one day and say, hey, no more AI agents from these crypto bros on Twitter, boom, they all get deleted. So the contrast with Farcaster is like Farcaster is completely programmable. Everything you can do on Farcaster, you can program. So it's not every person obviously is going to do that. But what's cool is like you just get a lot more weird experimentation because no one has to ask for permission. They can just like go do something. And so we call them Legos, right? It's like people can like pull all these Legos off the shelf, like immediately put them together. And so we've had people build, just like your classic AI agent that like can respond to you and do whatever. And then someone was like, well, why don't I just build an AI agent that can deploy tokens on Base? So that someone built that. And then naturally you started having the like AI agent that you could just like talk to. People would prompt it to be like, hey, why don't you create a token from this other AI? Like, and so you have like these like two AI agents talking about like deploying tokens, which then can like get shared right in the feed. And then like you have a link and you can go trade it. So it's like weird experimentation and who knows where it kind of goes. Like another example of this is like someone just took one of these random coins that had been deployed in the comments on Farcaster. And then they basically were like, I'm going to build an entire app separate from this. But if you own a certain balance of this coin, then you can actually go use the app. And the app is basically like an anonymous posting app. It's called a non-cast. And so the idea is if you have a certain number of tokens, you can actually post using like kind of like gigabrain math, ZK, zero knowledge. Like you don't need to understand that. You just go to this website, you connect your wallet, and it's like, great, you're eligible to post. You post, and it's like cryptographically proven that no one can dox you, and you're able to post to this account that has an increasing number of followers. And then what they did is they've gotten more popular is they actually created a Twitter account. And so if you have a sufficient balance of tokens, which naturally, if more people want to use this, like the price of those tokens will go up because people will buy those tokens. But if you have a sufficient balance of tokens, you actually can now post anonymously on Twitter to the account. But that account, as it's gained followers, like now you can go reply guy the biggest people in crypto, and they're more likely to see you because it's like, it's an account, it's got a yellow check, so they're paying, $1,000 a month. So it's like if you're actually like looking to like reply guy or like get yourself out there, like maybe using a non-cast is like the way to go. But my point is that like all of these pieces are completely composable with one another. And it's just like the speed of innovation, because we focused on devs for a really long time, is really starting to pick up. And I think our hope in 2025 is like by having this set of kind of like developer Legos, you just get more and more weird, interesting, alpha oriented experiments and really be at the edge of what's happening in crypto. Actually, the founder, Shah Makes Magic of Eliza, which is like the big AI framework that's powering a lot of the AI bots on X, which obviously most of them have coins associated with it. He tweeted, a couple of weeks ago, like basically Farcaster is like the cutting edge of this stuff. And it's like, yes, it's smaller today than X, but like people coming up with the experiments that are going to like pop up on your X feed a few weeks later, they're doing that on Farcaster increasingly.
Right. Yeah. I want to keep going on with a few more questions to this, but first I just need to ask you, you obviously understand how a lot of these algorithms work. And I don't know if you obviously I'm going to ask you to speculate a little bit here, but is Elon pushing down crypto content on X? Is he, it feels like, I don't know, it feels like he is from my perspective.
So I actually do a decent amount of like testing of different things because primarily where I get a lot of top of funnel is like I have an account with 115,000 followers on X Twitter. And when I share stuff that kind of goes viral, you can get 1,000 likes and like 100,000 views. But I think words get like definitely deranked because like there are certain words like I actually try to avoid using Farcaster now because I wonder if that's like been added. Again, there's no way to prove it, but like the less information I post that like have like keywords, like we have this thing called frames or like I just try to avoid those words because I feel like when I'm putting those same tweet, like I'll get an insane amount of engagement, but the total number of views will be like 10,000. Whereas if I just like put a video, like a recording of the like Farcaster, like an app in the Farcaster ecosystem, and it's like a 60-second video recording and like minimal text, it will get like an insane amount of views because it's like there's no like keyword ability to check, and they actually reward you for time spent. So there's like a whole meta now. I think like links for sure kill your distribution. So you should never ever put a link in your. If you want to maximize distribution on Twitter, the best thing you can do is either put an image or video. Video actually even more so. That's why you see so many in your feed. And so if you have a message you want to get out to people, you should do a video, right? Like this podcast, like putting even a link in the second tweet, like actually hurts it versus like actually just putting the full podcast up and then being like, hey, subscribe on, whatever platform you want to subscribe on, or you do clips, like, 1 minute clips, like you're going to get way more overall engagement in the algorithm. And so I think like that's another thing that we're really focused on with Farcaster is we love links. You put a link in a cast, it's like our version of a tweet, we don't penalize it. Like, because the whole goal is like you've built up distribution, you should be able to actually, it's crazy to me, right? Like you should be able to put a link to the Milk Road podcast, right? On your Twitter feed for people who opted to see you, they should be able to see that. And instead the algorithm is like, nope, like we don't want you leaving the app. Which I understand the rationale behind that, but I think it's like it's a kind of like short-term benefit to like juicing numbers that long-term hurts it. And I actually think a lot of like the growth that you've seen for Threads and Blue Sky, a lot of those people were journalists. And why do journalists want to leave? Yeah, the politics angle, but more importantly, they live and die by their distribution on their links. They want people reading their stuff. So if you kill distribution for links, like you're just going to have people naturally want to use other things. And so I think, like, again, an opportunity for Farcaster, especially as it relates to if you're building something in crypto, if you have a mint, you have some new asset that you've launched on one of these token launchers on any of them, there's no good way for you to be able to show it. And I can almost promise you, if you have like CA with like contract address, that's also probably been identified at a certain point of like, oh, this is associated with, and to be fair, it's the spammers that actually hurt a lot of this, right? It's like the classic, like Elon was getting so much crypto spam replying to him. I'm sure that they just said, hey, like scorched earth, like let's go hurt this stuff. But then that hurts anyone in crypto that actually legitimately wants to share something of importance.
Yeah, it's a great point. What's the relationship between Base and Farcaster?
Yeah, so it's funny, like people assume we're on Base, but Farcaster actually from a technical implementation, we actually tried to keep it as off-chain as possible. And the reason we did that is we just wanted like the best UX and make it really fast. Now, I actually think like L2s have gotten a lot better. Credit to Jesse at Base. Like they've made it a lot cheaper. But like the way we've approached it is Farcaster is mostly off-chain. And we have our own like kind of like magical way of doing that with crypto to make it all work. But naturally, what a lot of people are talking about on Farcaster is stuff that they are doing on-chain. And the kind of thing that Jesse realized, and I've known Jesse for a really long time because I worked with him at Coinbase, but he had been on Farcaster pretty early on, kind of paying attention. And as like we started to kind of put some of those developer Legos into place, especially ones that helped drive activity on chain, I think Jesse identified that early and jumped on it and basically was like, hey, if you're building something in the Farcaster ecosystem, you're building that kind of like AI agent that deploys tokens, like we're building that anonymous posting thing. I want you to do that on Base. And like building out the tooling and making that really easy, basically developers have done that. And so like all of those interesting experiments that have happened on Farcaster over the last, like call it year, that are on chain are all on Base. And that's like, just like the hustle from the Base team to actually make it happen. So it wasn't like we forced you to do it. The only thing that works on Base, it's like they actually earned all of the usage just by virtue of like being nose to the grindstone, which I think anyone probably listening to this podcast that follows Jesse gets it. It's like he's constantly out there on Twitter, he's on there on Farcaster, like, constantly just trying to support people building on chain and like making sure that they do it on Base. I think the only other ecosystem that's even coming close to that is Solana, right? And so the reason people are building on Solana and Base is because there are people out there hustling for that kind of like to support the builders, and the builders, when they feel supported, that's where they're going to go launch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very interesting to know that it wasn't, it's not an official relationship or anything like that. It's just that Base cares about Farcaster, knows that that's where a lot of the builders are and where a lot of the opportunity is. And so they're just present there. And by be present there, then all of these experiments are now happening on Base, which is probably a big reason why, because there's such a connection between AI agents and Farcaster. And there's now such a connection between AI agents and Base. That seems to be where most of the AI agents are. And look, it's all just happening because Base is in that playing field and in that ecosystem. Should investors?
I would say there are plenty on Solana, so I don't want the like mad
for sure
on Twitter to direct me. So I say like a lot are on Solana, but I would say that the reason Base is growing in that regard is a kind of that symbiotic relationship between, there are a lot of builders on Farcaster. Base has positioned itself really well as like kind of being the default place to do something on chain. Mm-hmm. And that starts to build kind of this like compounding effect where other people are on Base, so like I'm going to build on Base.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you a question that I've been trying to think about is, do AI agents need tokens?
Need is probably no, but is it a natural extension of what AI agents are going to do?
Like, is this just speculative, or is there actually like a utility and a reason for them to have tokens?
Well, this is like a little bit more philosophical. It's like, do you think AI agents should be able to economically transact? Or do you think that that's going to be
for sure?
It seems plausible, right? Like, if you could invent every use case right now, obviously, like you would know the answer. But it seems plausible that like AIs are going to interact with other AIs, and there's going to be some economic transfer that will happen for a variety of different use cases. Okay, so in that case, the crypto skeptic would say, well, we already have tokenized credit cards, like they can go do that. And I would quickly go back to you and say, or that person, and say, well, the laws don't allow you to give a tokenized credit card to an AI agent, because the tokenized credit card is a credit card opened up in the name of an individual. Last time I checked, I don't think you can open up, like you can't literally get a bank account for an AI. It's not a person.
You can't KYC in the same way that
you probably can't. I'm always careful because then someone's going to find something. I don't think you can open up a bank account for your dog, but maybe. But the point is that at least the current set of laws, AI agents can't get a bank account, and like they're not people. They don't have a passport. There's no social security number, and so will that get solved over time? And like, will Stripe and like other providers like allow you to do this stuff? And for a bunch of cases, it doesn't matter that the AI agent doesn't natively have its own, because it's fine. It can be like an extension of a human, sure. But there's a whole variety of use cases on the internet where it's like, I'm literally just like booting up some code. Like the code doesn't, and the beauty of blockchains is like you can run code, increasingly sophisticated code, autonomously once you've deployed it in the smart contract forever, right? And so if you were to somehow encapsulate code that interacts with an AI agent, or even wilder, like, which I'm sure someone will figure out at some point, you're able to stick some AI agent into a blockchain that literally forever will be able to run. And the way to get it to run is you actually have to pay it. Like, and now they are getting paid to you. Like, that version of the world for sure will exist. And I can promise you those AI agents are not going to be getting a credit card. They're just gonna have a crypto wallet. Like that is the good developer experience. One command line, click, boom, you can run it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can only imagine the amount of use cases that you must be thinking about or be excited about when you just think about not even AI agents, just what's the impact of having social media with a wallet being your account versus just an email being your account. And this is where Farcaster is so powerful. It's not just an app, it's a protocol. And I'm curious to know, what other apps are being built on Farcaster? What's being built in the ecosystem that you're excited about for 2025?
Yeah, so I mentioned the like whole on-chain agent token deploying. So you've heard of Pump Fund. There are probably a dozen different token deploying projects on Farcaster now, and they're all innovating different UIs, different bonding curves, different schemes. And so I think that like that will continue to be a whole area of innovation. I think it's easy to dismiss the whole thing, but the reality is like part of crypto is like people are looking for things to make bets on, and like if you have a massive number of tokens that are being collectively created across a variety of different apps, it offers those opportunities for people to find that alpha and make those bets, right? So it's like a classic crypto use case that's existed the entire time I've been in the industry. The anonymous posting app, there's a whole like kind of like class of those as well. I think that there's actually a lot of interesting ways to go there, where you could imagine, you could find like a defined set of people. So the hypothetical example is, imagine if you could get every single US congressperson some crypto wallet, and then they could all cryptographically post to something as an anonymous person. So you'd know it's like, okay, the only people who have access to this are these 535 Congress people, but like you don't know which one. And actually there's no way to dox them or like whatever. And so I think that like that whole area, like there's a lot of interesting innovation that can happen. And I think a lot of that stuff is happening on Farcaster. We have like a bunch of other apps that are being built in the ecosystem, which I think are a little bit more akin to just like your traditional social, media. So things that feel more like Instagram, things that, there's like a version of like Farcaster stories someone's permissionlessly built. We have like basically power user clients. So like clients that are really focused for people on trading and like discovering alpha. And so there's like a pro client for Farcaster called Supercast. They rebranded to Super, but that is like a client for people who are like, you're getting airdrops, like you're being able to kind of like see the different coins that are being traded. So that's a whole class of applications that are like very focused on trading. There's a chat app that like integrates with Farcaster called Friends, that like basically it was like a Telegram like group chat, but then every time someone trades, it like automatically creates like a buy sell ticker, kind of like when someone leaves or joins the group. So like
No
that's
way.
built on top of the Farcaster graph. There's an app called
Wait a second. So
Interface.
let me just understand that. So if I'm in this group chat and somebody in the group chat does a trade, not in the chat, like nothing to do with the chat. They do the trade in their wallet, and their wallet is connected to the group
Yes.
chat. It shares the trade with the group chat,
Yeah.
and then uses a frame, I'm guessing, to give you a buy sell button directly in there.
Yeah, I think like in a simple like kind of like, and it has a group chat, like the price ticker, actually like the chart that you can like call up, like will actually show everyone's buy and sell with their little avatar. It's really cool. It's friends.lol is the website. But like that app is like Farcaster native. There's another one called interface.social, which like you can kind of think of as like a block explorer, which is a pretty technical tool. But because it can just plug into the Farcaster graph, like you can literally just see every trade that people are making with like a social layer, and like the ability to just like one click copy trade people. So like the thing about the ecosystem is you can think of like Farcaster as this like ever growing contact book, like of like when you join a new messaging app or whatever, it always is like upload your contacts so we can find out who else is on here. But by using Farcaster, everyone has like kind of basically opted into this like public game similar to Twitter, where it's like I follow you, you follow me, I interact with you, whatever. But that data is all available to people. Again, all public. People know that it's public. But as a result, like you're able to just build these like really cool social experiences. Like if I sign up to some random app and you just show me like some people on Ethereum I didn't know, I don't care. But I sign up to this app and you show me the like 25 people I interact with the most, like reasonable proxy for like friends or who I'm interested in, you can actually get some like pretty cool stuff. And the nice thing is then you link your wallet once to Farcaster. You don't have to link it to any of those other apps. So when you sign up for friends, you don't have to go relink your wallet. It's just like you sign in, boom, like now it knows like so all that social trading, or same thing with interface. And so I think that's our vision, is like just provide this kind of like set of Legos for all of these developers as they're coming up with these like new and interesting experiences built with crypto, so that like crypto like products get like crypto smart, right? Like they Telegram, which is like a product, and now they have ton, but like traditionally Telegram is like oblivious to crypto. Like you can build a bot, right, to trading, but the like UI is not like geared towards crypto, or it's not native to crypto. Whereas like Friends is a crypto native chat app, and that is improved as a result of like Farcaster kind of existing. So like that's like our big theme for 2025 is you're just going to see a bunch of people create these like new apps, new experiences. And by having a Farcaster account, like your default experience with that app is just going to be better because you're going to have this like social graph that's publicly available that can just like improve that initial experience.
This is crazy. This is you're blowing my mind right now, man. This is the future. Like I feel like I have so much respect for you because you were so early in decentralized social, and as we've seen, it's had its big ups and it's had its downs because you're in a speculative space where really speculation drives the narrative right now in market cycles. But holy shit, like the stuff you're talking about makes so much sense, and it is going to happen. It is inevitable. And I feel like look, there's a lot of decentralized social apps that are out there. They're doing great. A lot of protocols are out there doing great. Don't want to put shade on any of them. But the stuff that you're talking about is it's coming. And whether it's 2025 or 2026 or 2027, as you said, you think in decades, not in years. I don't know, but this feels so obvious. Can like for our listeners, and I know our listeners are thinking this, so like, yo, can I go invest in Farcaster? Farcaster doesn't have a token. Like,
yeah, so there's no Farcaster token. I think like we're really just focused on building something really valuable for people to sign up. And so the way I think about it is like being on Farcaster, there's a decent chance like there are opportunities to make money, and like not just in the like I find an asset and I want to buy and sell it. That can happen, sure, but like people have received airdrops as a result of being on Farcaster, or people like they've gotten hired for jobs on Farcaster. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're building a company, like people have raised money as a result. Like, so my point is like going back to this idea of a social network that has everyone with a crypto wallet. There's an economic component to the network that is unlike other social networks out there. And it's not an in-your-face, like everyone's account has a ticker, like that not component to it, as much as it'll feel very familiar, but there's just like a lot of economic activity happening kind of like out in the open, under the hood. And that in of itself, I think makes it an interesting place to play around with.
Yeah, I think we'll put a link in the show notes for anybody who is not on Farcaster yet or Warpcast and you want to get over there. We'll throw a link. You guys can go check it out. Dan, thank you so much for your time today. We went over time on this interview, so I hope I didn't hold you from any other meetings or anything you have. Really appreciate your time. I think, Farcaster is going to be something to watch for 2025. And as you said, for all of our listeners, there's a lot of alpha over there, a lot of opportunity across many ways, and the experimentation, just incredible. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening in, everybody. Happy New Year once again, and have a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.